Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a wonderful box. One of you suggested I do this, and I had it sitting around, and I said, yeah, let's do it. The Brilliant Classics 13 CD Alkan edition. Wow, hot stuff this. You know, they license it from some places, and some things are original recordings to Brilliant Classics. But 13 discs, it's a lot. That's like almost as much as your typical Chopin edition. Alkan actually wrote quite a bit of music, and a lot of it is fascinating. We only know a small bit. He was one of the great keyboard geniuses of the 19th century and one of the great creative voices of the 19th century. He's been called the Mahler of the piano. I mean, he wrote huge pieces, tiny miniatures, but his style was so fabulously quirky and interesting and wonderful. He really was. He was absolutely wonderful. And let's see what we have in here. There's a lot of stuff, and a lot of the performances are just wonderful. They really are first class. Let's see. We have a nice little bookie. Yes, we got a bookie. This is a nice booklet. What's all this other stuff? Oh, the complete Liapunov. It's all the other stuff that you can get on Brilliant Classics and Piano Classics if you can find it, which is a big if these days. Things go out of print so fast you don't even know them, see it coming. So here are the 13 CDs. Disc number 1. Ooh, 12 etudes in all the minor keys. This is Alkan's like big kahuna, because you get the concerto for piano solo, you get the symphony for piano solo, you get all this other cool stuff. Let's see, what do we have here? Numbers 1 through 7. Numbers 1 through 7 contain Like the Wind, the first one, which is marked prestissimamente, which is like as fast as humanly possible. And then you have En rythme molosique, which is a rhythmic study, and the Scherzo Diabolico, which is also prestissimo. Alkan was given to extremes. And then you have the Symphony for piano solo, and then as a filler, Trois morceaux dans le genre pathétique. This is an earlier work, and they're beautiful. 3 pieces in the moody, dramatic style. Pathétique doesn't mean pathetic. It means emotionally, expressive. Sturm und Drangisch, really, is what it means. And these are big works. I mean, it's a half-hour piece, these 3 pieces. Alkan, he was not one to stint. And these are wonderful performances. They're by Vincenzo Maltempo. And all the stuff that he did for this label, his Alkan performances are really first rate. They're very, very good. So that's wonderful. And then we have the rest, almost the rest. Yes, the rest of the 12 etudes in all the minor keys. First, you have the Concerto for solo piano, which is a monster piece. It's 3 movements, which means 3 of the etudes, lasting, let's see, 30, 42, 10, 52 minutes. Yeah, 30 plus, that's it. That's something else, isn't it? And it's a concerto in which the piano solo has to be both the orchestra and the soloist, sometimes at the same time. It's hot stuff. The first movement's half an hour long. It's as long as the whole Liszt sonata. It's really an extraordinary work. And then you get, let's see, what's this thing? His overture. There's an overture in B minor. And finally, Aesop's Feast, one of the kookiest themes and variations you'll ever hear in your life. There's a fabulous variation. First of all, the tune. Dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 bum. Oh, it's so bizarre. And then you've got this the hunting variation. It's marked abbayante or howling, or it's dum ba da 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 dum bum ba da 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 dum, and then the dogs start to bark dum ba da 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 wump da 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 wump da 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 wump ba da 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 wump, all offbeat. Oh my God, it's fabulous. So there's that. Next we have Maltempo again, still doing the Grand Sonata, the 4 Ages of Man. A totally insane piece where it starts as fast as possible and gradually slows down for each decade. You have a young man, then the mature man who is quasi-Faust. He's full of, idealism and nobility and an 11-part contrapuntal something, which is just nuts. And then you've got a beautiful menage at home, an andante, very Schubertian, and then Prometheus chained, old age, and adagio. weird piece, hard to hold together, hard to make the progression consistently interesting, but Maltempo does it. It's wonderful. And then we've got the Sonatina in A minor, which is not a little piece either. I mean, the Sonatina here is 20 minutes long, which is some Sonatina. It's a brilliant work, a late work, really, really powerful and concise, tightly coiled. And the Grand Etude in C minor, Mouvement semblable et perpétuel, Rondo toccata. Yeah, it does a lot of stuff, doesn't it? So that's that. Next, we have Mark Weiner, who's also quite good. Let me see where this came from. I just want to make sure if this was this licensed or this was, yeah, it's Piano Classics. He's also a very fine pianist, and he does 12 etudes in all the major keys. That's Opus 35. And this has the fabulous Allegro Barbaro, which foreshadows Bartók's Allegro Barbaro, except Alkan's is much more barbaro than Bartók's Barbaro. And that's enough of the alliteration. Yeah, it's really something. And it's 80 years ahead of its time, which is pretty remarkable. And then there's this amazing piece called L'incendie au village voisin, the fire in the neighboring village, which is quite something. And then there's some other really cool stuff. Love song, song of love, song of death. Oh, they're great. So those etudes are cool. Smaller scale than the minor key ones, but no less worthy. And then we've got the esquisses, sketches. This is like Laurent Martin is playing this. This is licensed from Naxos. These were originally on Marco Polo. Martin is not the greatest pianist in the world, but he's not bad. And these are little pieces. He does a good job with them. They are, let's see, there are 49 of these suckers. Little tiny pieces on one disc, all Opus 63. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 suites of them, and they all have titles. They're like updated pieces by Couperin or one of those French clavecinist types, and with some wonderfully exotic titles and just really, really cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. So there's that. And let's see. Then we have 25 preludes in all the major and minor keys. This is 24 of 25 preludes, yes. Opus 31. And this is also with Laurent Martin. And this was also from Naxos. These are in 1, 2, 3 suites. I mean, really kind of amazing, this guy. You know, he wrote these big collections of works, just as Chopin did, for example, but people don't know them. And they are incredibly fascinating. And this one, by the way, this one contains the first series, number 8, contains one of the most marvelous pieces in the entire 19th century repertoire, The Song of the Mad Woman by the Seashore. You hear the roaring of the surf in the distance, the ocean, just going bum, 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 bum in the background, like just, you know, and in her mind you hear this tune, da 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 da, bum 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 ba 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 ba, da 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 da, and it repeats with the ocean in the background and becomes a horrifying scream and then finally dies away. It's just unbelievably evocative and poetic. I can't even begin to explain how nifty it really is. And then let's see, what do we have here? More with Laurent Martin. We've got the first album of impromptus, Opus 32, number 1. There are 4 of those. One of them is Fantasietta alla Moresca. Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole bunch of things. Then the second volume of them. And let's see, what have we got? Oh, some individual works. Salut, Cendre du Pauvre, and Alleluia, the Rondo Chromatique, like the Liszt, you know, Grand Galop Chromatique, and variations on a theme of Stibot, and Super Flumina Babylonis, paraphrase of Psalm 137, by the waters of Babylon we wept. Okay, let's see, what have we got here? Now we have, okay, the Premiere Nocturne, and then his Toccatina. That's a famous late work. It's delightful. Tiny little work. It's 1 minute and 51 seconds long, and very, like all of his music, extraordinarily difficult. And then we have Chants, songs, Opus 33A, first volume. There's a lot of chants. He designed them all based on the first book of Mendelssohn's Songs Without Words. They all end with a barcarolle, which fascinated him. He was like 5 volumes of these suckers. But here's the first volume, and we have, let's see, 3 grand etudes for 2 hands separated and reunited. And this is a wonderful, wonderful piece again. And these are big, big pieces. The left-hand piece is 13 minutes. The right-hand piece is 22 minutes, just for the right hand. And the last one is 5 minutes, where they come back together. And then we've got two little pieces, Opus 60. Little, meaning they're only 15 minutes long. The 2 of them. I mean, it's really kind of amazing. One is called Ma Chère Liberté, my dear freedom, and Ma Chère Servitude, my dear slavery, servitude. I mean, this is romantic gold, this stuff. And the performers are Alan Weiss in the first 5 numbers, pardon me, and Alessandro Deliavan in the other stuff, the grand etudes onwards. And again, they're good performers. They're very, very good. No problem here. Then we've got more Vincenzo Maltempo. Here we've got his 3 petite fantasies, Opus 41, which again are not so petite. I mean, it's 15 minutes, about 5 minutes each. And then the Minuetto alla Tedesca, the Marche Funèbre. He was a great funèbre guy. I mean, a funeral march expert. The Marche Triomphale, which came right after the Marche Funèbre. The Funèbre one is 12 minutes. The Triumph's only 4, which makes sense, actually, when you think about it. Then little preludes on the 8 modes of plain chant. And you get number 6, and the Capriccio alla Soldatesca, something about soldiers, that's 7 minutes long, and La tambour bat au champ. Oh, the drum beats in the fields. Fascinating, fascinating war piece. And then let's see, so a bit more of some of the other stuff that we've had that Maltempo did. He does one of the preludes. He does the Song of the Madwoman by the Seashore. You get it twice. And from the sketches, the Equis Laus Deo, praise God. Now, let's see, what do we have here? Okay, we have 3 minuets, and, he did a piece called The Months. Yeah, all 12 of them. They're not here. You only get 3 of them here, but you get 3, and they're lovely. And then we've got some more of the chants, and, there's just 2 more Nocturnes, and the Sonatina again. We've already heard that once with Maltempo. This is with Constantino Mastroprimiano, playing a Pleyel piano from 1865, an authentic instrument, and Stanley Hoagland doing similarly. So that's like a variety disc. Now this one, this is the chamber music. Ooh, with the trio Alkan. And this is licensed from, wait a minute, Naxos. Yes, these were on Naxos too, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good. The Alkan chamber music still needs its ultimate exposition of all 3 works. There are 3 works. There's a violin sonata, there's a piano trio, and there's a cello sonata. Now, the cello sonata has been fabulously recorded by Hyperion. The rest of it could use a little bit of doing. But the violin sonata is absolutely insane. The grand duo concertante for an F-sharp minor of all keys. For violin and piano, I love the middle movement. It's called Hell. L'Enfer. That's it. Hell. And it's got chord clusters and stuff going on that you're not going to believe. It's fabulous. And then the cello sonata, which is the big one. It's the big work here, and it's just nuts. The finale is a saltarello marked prestissimo, which is completely insane. And the trio is a very, very beautiful work, very concise. It's concise for Alkan. It's Alkan. I call him Alkan. I'm Americanizing. Let's see, 8, 15, about 20 minutes long, but they're wonderful pieces. So there you go. Then we've got, let's see, somewhere in here, the orchestral works. There aren't many of them. He wrote a symphony, which is lost, unfortunately. There are a couple chamber concertos for piano and orchestra, which are really marvelous. They're for piano and small forces. The first one is for piano and strings. The other one, I think, has like a few more people in it. And, they're really, or the other way around. I've never never pay attention to those things. But the first one is really fairly substantial. It's about 14 minutes. Decent work. The second one is really short and concise. The whole thing, especially for Alkan, it's like 7 minutes, 8 minutes for the whole work in 3 movements. And then there's the third one, which is a single movement. It's an andante for piano and muted strings. It's only 3 minutes and a bit. And then there's 3 scherzi, etudes de bravura, and these are fun. Oh, they're so much fun. And then 3 sets of variations, which are the variations on, all by Bellini and, the usual people. And a variations quasi-fantasies are on Barcarolle Napolitan. Oh, yeah, right ever. Giovanni Bellucci is the pianist. The Orchestra di Padova e del Veneto under Roberto Forres Veses. Not famous, but they play them very well. And then finally, what's this last one? Kevin Bowyer, who's quite good also, in disc 13, 13 Prayers, opus 64, and the Petite Preludes, all 8 of them this time, on the 8 intonations of plain chant. And these were written for pedal piano. So they're performed here for the most part, I think, on organs. Yeah, on organ transcriptions. This was on Naxos too. Yeah, 73 minutes worth. Yay! So it's organ music. So you get all the chamber music, you get all the orchestral music, you get a huge pile of piano music, mostly very well played. Now there have been some, later recordings of some of this work on Hyperion and other labels that have, superseded some of the earlier recordings in here, like the Laurent Martin stuff, which is still quite good. It's respectable. But Maltempo is as good as anybody out there. And, this is a guy you got to hear. It's just that simple. He's essential. He's just essential. He's an amazing composer, and you're really going to enjoy him. I guarantee it. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.